Right, we're back for part 2 here. So, I kind of changed my mind partway through that first video, and we just went for that L-shaped block. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to jump on it and we're actually going to finish this so that it kind of resembles that object that we've got there on slide 207. So, what we want to start doing now is cutting out these extra little sections. Okay, so we're taking it from just a basic L-shaped block. We're going to cut these little bits out here, and this is going to allow us to start kind of using this bounce line a wee bit more, and to include a wee bit of hidden detail, which is kind of good to start mixing that into your drawing so that we're upping the ante, I guess. So what we want to do, and I think probably in my head drawing these top views, and I think would make it, in my head, make a wee bit more sense. So we'll start by doing this wee object here where we're cutting out this little chunk. So if I look on the top view, what I want to do is essentially draw in the kind of size that I reckon that this little notch is. Okay, now because we're sketching, which is quite nice because we can just kind of eyeball it, okay, we don't have to sit and measure this. So, I mean, mine's not absolutely perfect, just a wee bit off, but I'm not going to worry myself too much about it for this first practice one, okay? But what I'm doing there, and again, I'm just using these corners that I've got on the object to try and keep my things as close to 90 degrees as I can, is I'm going to just box it in. I'm going to make this slightly wider because I say it doesn't bother me, but you've all met me. So, we've got that little box now sketched in, okay? Now, like I say, I kind of outlined mine all before in that first video, which makes things a wee bit trickier because we're now chopping into it, but we will live. So, we've cut this little bit, okay? Now what we want to start doing is to start kind of representing this in our other views, okay? So in this top view, it's easy enough for us to see what's going on because we're just looking at the front, and I'm just trying to really thicken this up so you can really see the bit we're trying to focus on just now. Okay, so cutting out this notch. So we can use this bounce line, we can use our projection lines to allow us to build it into the other two views. Okay, so my elevation, I should have labelled this in the last video, end elevation, and my plan, which is my top view. Okay, so what I can start to do now is I can start to say, right, I can bring some lines down. So this line, I know it's already there, but what I can do is take this edge and say, right, if I bring this down the way, and I run it straight down nice and lightly, a nice projection line, I can see kind of how far back it comes on the object. So if I think about it running to the edge there, it comes back that sort of depth, okay? This is where we start to think about hidden detail lines, and I'm going to try to explain this for you, okay? So if we take a line from a view into another view, so this one here, for example, I take this line, and when I start to bring it over, if it, on its way out of the view, has to hit another section of it, so as I bring it out, it actually bumps into this line here, okay? If it bumps into it, what that's doing is it's telling me that it's behind that line, okay? So it's not going to be visible. And if I refer to my 3D view, that is kind of, we know the case. It's there, that's what we can see, and it's behind it, okay? So if the line comes down and it has to hit something else in its view, then it will become a hidden detail down, line down in this bottom bit, okay? And if you remember from the notes, hidden detail is just an even dashed line, okay? I'm just switching to a pink pen here just to hopefully clarify a bit, okay? So, like I say, to come out of the view that it's in, if it has to bump past any other part of that view, it becomes a hidden detail line on the next view, okay? So that's us now added that in there. And we want to do the same on this end here, okay? So if we look at the end, what we'd actually be able to see is this front bit and this front bit, and then the middle bit actually goes back a wee bit, okay? It's still there, it's just further back. So we need to draw in these front edges, and we can use our bounce line, okay? So remember, we built that up, we brought the front line, we brought the front line, and they took at 45 degrees. And we're gonna use that same idea again. So this line bounces over, so we run it across, we run this one across, and just like we did on the last view, we're just going the opposite way this time. When it hits the line, it bounces down the way. Okay, so we can take that straight down. Again, I'm just lining up the wee lines here to help me try and keep it as best as I can at 90 degrees. So those lines have been brought down, okay? Now, the same rule applies here. We can work out whether it's a hidden detail line. So this line here, it kind of ends there. So we take that line, it's not had to bump into anything on its way out because it is actually just right up to the edge. Okay, so because it comes straight out and goes down, that would end up being a solid line. Okay, so we'd be able to see it. It doesn't have to cross any other lines. It just comes straight out of there without any issue. Hard to see because I've got that. But yeah, because it runs up to the edge, we've not gone through it this one because it hits to here. As soon as we bring it out, it bumps, and that's why that one became hidden detail. Okay, so for this one, we've built that in, and we can see that we've got the two sides and the back bit, which if we look there, we've got the two sides and the back bit. Okay, so lines have gone across and down, or they've just gone down, and as I say, if it has to cross another line, then it becomes hidden detail. We are going to have a shot at doing the same thing now on this little top section. So again, what one will I draw on? I think I'll draw on this face just now, just so I'm starting to think about jumping between different views. So width-wise, I'd say it probably is a little bit wider than this one. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going on this top bit, think about where I think that might sit. Okay, again, if it's not absolutely perfect, like I say, mine's a wee bit squint and a wee bit off, don't worry yourself too much about it, okay? We're just getting our head around the idea here. So, we've drawn in this little notch now. So if I looked at it front on, I would now actually see, that's quite a good coincidence that I've done this side in pink. I would now see this face, so I've taken this little notch out, which is what we've got, okay? And we're just going to start bringing these lines about the place and seeing what we can come up with. So I'm going to take the widths up the way just now and bounce them across, okay? So this goes up, it doesn't have to break through anything, the line ends here, so if I take it from where it ends, it's not have to cross through anything, it's right on the edge, so we'll be able to see it. So it goes up, and then it goes across. This is not my neatest drawing that I've done, but like I say, I've got to just do what we can here. So these have gone up, they've bounced across, and then what I can do is, because they never came out, they will just become solid lines. So top view, we've kind of carried that over. Now we want to take depth down and we want to represent it on our elevation. Okay, so we start to take this line and we say, right, where does it end? It ends there. I'm going to start running it across. Now, as I've run it across, to come out of the view that it's in, it has bumped here, okay? And we know from that first view that if it bumps into something, that means that it's behind it. So this view, if I'm looking on at that side, it's going to be solid, and this is behind that line, okay? So in my elevation, it's going to end up a hidden detail line, okay? So what I would do is, obviously because I darkened up my lines to start with, it makes it a wee bit trickier for us. If I got a black pen anywhere, probably not. I don't know. I do. Right, so what we tend to do if we're doing like your coursework and stuff in class, generally when we're doing these drawings, I'll give you the fine liners and you can tidy them up a wee bit, okay? Hopefully, as I say, you're kind of familiar with how terrible the cameras in school are, or just generally filming drawing on cameras. We should have some lighter lines kind of going on throughout your drawing. I should say you shouldn't rub out any of these projection lines. They should be nice and light and kind of not too obvious, so that when you do end up going and finalising your drawing with a fine liner pen or just with a really chunky pencil, you should kind of almost see that they almost fade into the background a bit. But yeah, we can tidy this up. What's quite nice sometimes as well, you'll notice I've got it just by default because I was showing you, but often people when they're doing their drawings tend to go, right, do you know what, my outlines will be black and maybe I want to do my hidden detail and my centre lines and things in a blue pen or a red pen or something, just to make them look a wee bit more interesting. But yeah, so this one, because I darkened up actually, I don't need that bit. But yeah, adding in your details, it's just a case of drawing them on, picking your view that maybe is the easiest to represent it. So like say I did on this one, project them over and down or straight down. And just remember that if something has to hit another line on its way out of the view that it's in, then it will become hidden detail on the next view. So this one, as it was coming out of the view, it bumped, so it became a hidden detail line.